Boom! Hi everyone! Today we're going to be continuing the idea of a previous stream that I did on KDE and what amazing features it has. So what I want to focus on today is the toolbar. When I was on Windows, I had it on auto hide because it was ugly and useless. It had some information which is maybe useful. For example, it displayed the time, sure. I think without seconds though. But for me to figure out the date, I had to specifically hover over it with my mouse. Well, now I don't have to do that because I can display not just the date, I can display that date in whatever format that I want. So let's look at that first. You will have this widget to begin with, but in case if you don't, you right click, enter edit mode, add widgets, and here you have all the possible widgets that you could add. So every single widget can either be on the toolbar or on your desktop. So what you would do is, I guess, time. Yes, digital clock. You click it, it gets added there, and then you configure it. So, since I already have it, I right click on it, configure digital clock. Now let's see what it has. First of all, show date, where it will appear. So it can either be below, which is way too crammed for me, or beside. And adaptive location, I guess it figures out itself, depending on, I'm not sure what. Then you can make it show seconds. Everything else is yeah, but date format is what we're really looking for, because I defined how my date is displayed. Here I have the weekday, the day of the month, then the month, and the month displayed via a number. I decided so it would be like that, and yeah, I made it so. So you can look at the docs to figure out what letters you should be using to configure your thing. Yeah, and then you can choose what font and style and all that you're gonna use to display that clock. I really like JetBrains Mono, so I decided to choose that. Or you could just make it be the default font, the default system font, and that is the default. Let me open the chat on my phone before I go on any longer. Got volume, you say? Okay, that's great then. I got worried like, oh, maybe I don't have volume, but I definitely do, so great. Okay, so coming back, you can select the font of your clock, how it displays the date. So now it's actually useful. Now whenever I need the date, I don't have to do the fucking math in my head of, wait, August is which month? Oh, right, it's the 8th month. No, it's just displayed there, which is very convenient. I'm more of a ISO 8601 kind of person. I'll just trust you on that, because I have no clue what that means. Is there a way to make the taskbar really thin, or do you prefer it that big? Let me actually show that off. That's what she said. Okay, let's go to this desktop, which is empty, enter edit mode, and here we have panel height. You can make it as big as you want. It continues on, by the way. Let's see just how big I can make it. It can still go on longer. Yeah, you can still make it bigger. We can continue. Basically, I can make it really big. Or, I think it was on 42 for me. Well, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. 42. Boom. Yeah, it was on 42. Or you can make it way smaller, like this. I guess the minimum is 20. And that is so ridiculously small to the point of like, no, that's way too small. So I checked around and 42 felt like the rightest thing for me, especially considering that my taskbar usually isn't really filled in fully, so I might as well. Yeah, you can make it so big and very, very small. I use ETC even here, where the hour is GMT plus 2. So it turns out I recently figured that out. Wait, what? Interesting. Why is the chat on my phone appearing before this chat? That's weird. Apparently, UTC and GMT are the same, which is wild. It's date format standard. noon is the 23rd of March of next year. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. It looks kind of ugly, I'm sorry. Yeah, 20 is also good, but the reason why I don't, I'm gonna show off a bit later. The reason why I make it a bit bigger instead. Yeah, it looks better without T, but I still don't like the dashes in the date. And also, as you can see, I don't display the year here because I fucking know what year it is right now. It doesn't need to be displayed. So yeah, it's very convenient in the way that you can decide what you put in there. Yeah, chat desync is understandable. I guess it's more so that why do messages appear on my phone faster than on the computer? It's pretty strange. Jesus Christ. That's illegible. That would be so difficult for me to read. Right, so let's look at it a bit more. So when we enter edit mode, first of all, you can decide where you want to put it. I like to have it at the top, and then click more options. We have panel alignment, which moves this thing. If you haven't noticed it, this thing, drag to change the position of this screen edge, whatever that means. Yeah, basically this moves it. No clue what it actually does. I haven't really noticed, but yeah. So you can auto hide just like you would on Windows, or at least I did. But I use always visible because now it's actually pretty fucking useful. Oh, hey, Misha. I really dislike the dashes. They look kind of eh. I use dots instead. Yeah, that's fair. If you're naming files, I would probably go with something like this, but once again, use a dot instead of a dash. Believe it or not, they're actually pretty helpful. And I'm gonna get to that. First of all, we're discussing the KDE taskbar. What? Taskbar. Why? Why would I do that? Wait, hold up. No, that's wild. Month, year, then day? What? I don't get it. Why would I do that? That's strange. Right, so edit mode, more options. Windows can cover and windows go below. Kinda useless options if I'm being real, but it's very cool that they're there. Then opacity, basically translucency, whether it is or not. So opaque, it's like a bit darker. Translucent, it isn't. And adaptive, it changes whether or not there is a window here. So if there is a window touching the taskbar, it becomes dark, as you may see here. And now it's translucent, which is really cute. Really, really cute. You can style it however you want, as long as it is big endian. It's probably good. You're talking about some fucking Bigfoot. Big endian? Big pharma. Big cat. What? I see what you mean. Yeah, that's like fair. That's not what I would choose, but yeah, you can style it however you want, which is really cool. Okay, so what else do we have here? Maximize panel, what the fuck does that do? I'm not sure. Floating panel, you can make it floating if you want to. I don't. Okay. Second thing, spacers. By default, you can add a new spacer, and here it is. This will, by default, resize itself to make things look nice. So, you can center stuff with them, which is why my, what is this called? No, not, oh, I'll get to that in just a second. My system tray can be centered here, not because of some random setting, but because I'm putting panel spacers here, and they automatically resize as things change. And I guess the panel alignment that we changed to be in the center is the reason why why this panel spacer is so much bigger than this one, because it tries to center, you know? Most significant info first. I see. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. In terms of, like, if I'm naming files and I'm using the timestamp for whatever reason, I would use Big Endian. Big fucking Indian, for sure. But if I'm making it display, like, in a clock, for me, I'm going to do the opposite, because I fucking know what year it is, and the first thing that I probably want to know is the day of the month, then day of the week, then month, and then I know the year, you know? So I would do it differently depending on whether it's like a file name or something visual. Yeah, gotcha. So, we figured out that these panel spacers can resize themselves to center things, and you can add as many as you want. And then you can remove set flexible size, so they are a specific size, and then you can increase them if you want to. I don't. Alright, the system tray, which you also can configure. You can make it small, which is the default, I think, which makes it, well, small, but you can also scale with panel height, which makes it as big as these icons here. You can change what entries appear there. You can hide every single one, and you can disable most of them. However, if you disable something like Bluetooth, or more realistically, if you try to disable media player, your media hotkeys will stop working. So if you don't want to see it, use always hidden instead of disabled. You should probably know which month it is though. Well, yeah, I will probably know, but not necessarily. There have been times where I'm like sitting around and it's like, is it still July or August already? I get lost in days very easily. Like, how is it the 11th of August already? That's crazy. Right, so if you want a certain functionality to work, opt for hidden rather than disabled, because disabling it may disable the functionality. which doesn't even relate to you like clicking the button here. So that works a bit weirdly. But yeah, discard. So here we have this status bar, and I keep forgetting what it's actually called. System tray. It's just literally like random combinations of words. It's So what is this then? First of all, what I want to show you off is we search for system tray, boom, and we can have another system tray. And we can individually change the settings for both of them. So we can make one system tray display one information and another display some other information. And this is actually how I used to do it. So you can have as many of the same widget as you want, in case you want to display different information. However, you cannot disable this fucking button. If you only have one system tray, that's alright, that's not annoying, it can even potentially be useful. But if you have multiple system trays, well, it starts getting kinda annoying. Which is why some of the parts of what you would usually see in your system tray can actually be added as an individual widget. So if we add widgets and do something like layout, yeah, keyboard layout, we get this, which would usually be in your system tray. Same thing about network, Bluetooth, volume, I imagine. So I just added these widgets individually, instead of them just being in the system tray. And I can also put them wherever I want. Maybe like I want to take this and put it here for whatever reason. I can. But not all of them are included. For example, here we have the media controls here in the tray bar, system tray, right? So this is exactly what I want to put here. But if I add widgets and media something, media player, boom, it doesn't let me display it in such a closed format as I could before. And let's enter edit mode so I can't configure it. What? Why? So just keep in mind that for the most part, you can move things from the system tray to their individual widgets, but some of them may look different and some of them might not even exist. But for the most part, it's amazing enough already. I would have expected that the arrow button doesn't show up if there are no hidden items. There are some items that are impossible to hide, I'm pretty sure. And let's actually check that out, if that is true. Fuck. Audio volume hide. So if they are hidden, yeah, if no hidden items. So this we can disable, and this, basically we're looking for something that we cannot disable whatsoever. Boom. We can't disable this, but okay, maybe we're not using the microphone so it wouldn't appear, or we just use show when relevant. So that's all right. We can disable, we can. So yeah, you can mostly disable like most things. Boom, we cannot disable this. We also can't disable this, and we can disable this. Now, you may make the argument that you could just have them show up here, but honestly, I don't want to see them, so it's better to hide them than to not. And in the point of, oh, you can use another system tray to display it in multiple places, well, then you wouldn't display everything. You would hide most things or disable them, you know? YouTube is weird, right? Like, goddamn. So yeah, basically, having no hidden items in the point of multiple system trays doesn't really work because you would hide items, because you can't disable every single one of them. And by disabling at the very least one thing, the volume thing, you actually lose real functionality of a hotkey. So here I can, well, that's funny. I'm supposed to be able to change my volume by pressing hotkeys, but I guess not. What? I might actually... Why is it not working? Okay, so basically I have hotkeys to change my volume. Audio volume, always hidden, always shown, but they're not working for some reason. Maybe if I go to some other place, it will start working. What the fuck? That's so strange. I'm eternally confused. Well, yeah, basically, if you disable some things, they stop working. Like, completely separate but related functionality may stop working, which is really weird. Yeah. I guess maybe they just stopped working because I'm using microphone for something that doesn't take desktop audio or something. I don't get it. Whatever. Coming back to it, what haven't we covered? Right, for most things that you see here, you can configure them, change them to be how you want, like in keyboard layout, for example. You can choose it to be a flag, for example, but it kind of stands out a lot, so I use the words-based thing. And you can even change how your language is displayed via text. Then we have this, and you also have to enter edit mode again and again, which is kind of annoying. There are multiple different this type of window that you can pick. So let's try this. Cool, I guess. They're a bit big, gonna be honest. But I guess they just resize to fill the space. I might use that. And let's look at another one. Window list. Oh, ew. That's not helpful. Okay, I'm gonna try to use this. We have Pager, which displays virtual desktops. And I'm gonna get to it. But basically, look through the widgets that are here, because there are a lot of different cool stuff. And remember that you can always put it either in your toolbar or on the desktop. There is something, though, that will be enabled for you automatically once you install the system. And basically, it's going to be like, I guess, somewhere here. This is called a margin separator. It separates the big part of your toolbar with the small part, making this smaller for close to no reason. You can remove it. Boom, it's now big. You're welcome. Icon only taskbar is probably the best option. I've used it for a while, and I noticed that this space is often unoccupied at all. I usually have one or two windows open in a single desktop, so I might as well see the the title of the window, or at least part of the title of the window. I think it may be useful in some situations. If I'm like making a window rule, for example. And about window rules, let's check them out. What are they? Window rules let you manage how windows operate. Let me show you one of the rules that I actually have. So for Blender, the first time it starts up, it starts on desktop 8, so this one. And there are a couple of different options, which are always available for every single other property that we're going to look at. Apply initially means this, in this case virtual desktop, will be applied when the window just appears. Apply now, you can expect what that means. Remember means that anytime you change the value, it will be remembered throughout, throughout you opening and closing that window. And force means that this is guaranteed to be true. So if I set it to force and try to move Blender from the 8th desktop to somewhere else, it will not let me. So it's that strong, which is really cool. I wonder if I have any more complex, I guess, window rules, or is it just desktops? Actually, that might be helpful. So, usually, let me first show off how you would even make a rule to begin with. Okay, that makes sense. I pin apps and use the icon-only task manager, so in my case it takes up space. Yeah, that's how I used to do it before as well. I used to have a single desktop that had a bunch of apps pinned, and then there are also apps that I open, and it was kind of like counterintuitive in a way. Because before I see the windows that I'm actually working with, I also have to see all the other default windows that I always need to have open. Actually, remember, it's kind of worked when one rule applies to multiple windows, because the value... That's so funny. That's ridiculous. Oh my god. That's ridiculous. Is that a Kwin plugin? Do you mean like desktops? That's actually a part of KDE overall. Like, it's just there, and I'm going to show some parts of it in this stream. Right, so reason why I'm using desktops, and 16 of those for that, is because I use a tiling script, an automatic tiling script, which we may or may not get to, I don't know. And each window, for the most part, is on its own desktop. The benefit of that is, say I'm watching some YouTube video. What I'm currently seeing is just this. I am just watching a YouTube video. I don't see VS Code here, basically hinting to me that, oh, you should like code instead of resting, which is what you deserve. There's no terminal saying, oh, actually, there is one more thing in your shell that you should configure. There's no Spotify just being there for close to no reason, even though music is either playing or not, so it's just kind of annoying to see there. I know that you, Misha, have a very different opinion. Yeah. I don't quite know what workspaces are. I've heard of activities, and Andreas from the HK Discord uses them and recommended them to me, but I haven't yet touched them. So I'm only using virtual desktops. Right, so basically, it's very distracting to see all of the windows that I have always in my view, annoying my eyes out. And then I can't really just sit down and watch a video calmly. I can't because maybe there's the Blender window appearing here saying, oh, you could instead just edit your video right now instead of resting. Or whatever else I have, like a project that I'm working on, some settings that I was changing, Discord, and like the work timer that I have chat. Imagine all of these windows being here. Well, the thing is, they wouldn't be. They wouldn't be because I would constantly close them and open them like a fucking idiot. I see. Exactly, I know, right? Like, that's so, like, you can't stand seeing that many windows on your screen. Therefore, you end up closing them and then opening them back and closing them again. And you're in this endless cycle of closing things that you eventually will come back to anyway. Why are you wasting time on closing and opening the window that you consistently want open, like Discord, for example? Maybe I don't need it for the time being, fine, but I will eventually come back to it. What I'm annoyed by is having it in my eyes when I'm trying to focus on something else. With desktops, Discord is still always there, but it's not annoying the fuck out of me. It's only there when I get to it. So this is why I use virtual desktops. Are akin to workspaces, and I'll say are not. Yeah, I'll say probably isn't. True, mega true. Don't worry about it. Basically, what you're probably looking for right now to like start out with is virtual desktops, which is what I'm currently talking about. That's the stage that I'm currently at in terms of figuring things out. Then you go to activities and workspaces. Haven't heard of them. Send them to another virtual desktop. If you're like replying to fuck, Discord is annoying, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I do. The windows on my second screen I always keep open, blah blah, but the ones on my primary screen I constantly close to keep everything clean. With desktops, you have the visuality of cleanliness while having the productivity of actually having everything still at your grasp. And RAM is smart enough where I can trust my computer to not spend RAM on Spotify right now, for example. It's probably like sleeping in a way, and then once I get there, it probably starts using RAM again. So in terms of RAM, it's fine to keep Windows open, because whatever I'm currently doing, maybe I'm doing something in the terminal, I can fully focus on whatever I'm doing right now without also taking in consideration that, oh, actually I was listening to music or changing settings or working on another project, editing a video. What else was I doing? Fucking streaming. Like working on my job resume. That especially, I can just put it on this desktop and completely forget about it and completely rest, instead of having to close it and then remembering how the fuck I even got to that like combination of Windows and other stuff. Is it possible to isolate virtual desktop per monitor in case of multiple monitor setup? I don't know much about it because I only have one monitor, but I think not, except you could use activities to change how you interact with virtual desktops in some ways. It's not that I hate seeing them open, it's that I hate that they're open, whether or not I see it. See, that's why I am not the same with you, because I don't hate that they're open. I hate that I see them being opened, you know? Does not swap application memory unless it has to. Well, that's okay, but basically what I'm saying is RAM is going to be okay even though I'm using all of it. So I guess my point is, if RAM is needed elsewhere, Linux will probably forget about Spotify because I'm not currently using it. So is that correct? Because that's what I mean by that. Yeah, And I'm saying this as a person with 6 gigabytes of RAM, and I can do this thing. I just recently had also Blender opened, another Firefox window, and something else. I usually have Telegram open here, but I don't like to show it on stream, which is why I don't. And I can easily afford that. My system doesn't really slow down, which is surprising, honestly. Hold up, let me get water. So, in other words, using virtual desktops gives you the experience of being able to focus on a single, I guess, task at a time. If I'm here, I am just like watching YouTube, for example, or doing something in the browser, maybe reading something. It's just one specific thing that I'm currently doing, and I don't have to be distracted by other open windows that I have. Well, the memory used by Spotify will be swapped if your RAM completely fills up, and Spotify hasn't accessed much of its memory in a little bit. Yeah, that's exactly the point I was making. So, incorrect wording on my part, that not that it like starts sleeping, more so that if something more important currently needs to use memory, it will. Doesn't mean it doesn't access its memory. Okay, yeah, noted. But basically, my point is, your RAM is probably going to be fine, even if you do it this kind of way. And if you, say, have all of these windows on a single desktop, while that should still apply, but then if you go between windows to get to some certain window, sometimes you will activate a window that you haven't used in a while, kind of like making it use RAM, I guess, waking up it in a way. Like making your system think that you currently need to use the program, when in reality you just ended up there by mistake. With desktops, you're gonna make that mistake less often, because usually you'll just go immediately to a certain desktop. Maybe you go specifically to the 5th one, or to the 7th one, or to the 9th one. Isolation is what virtual desktops are good at, what I'm understanding. Exactly, yeah. It's so nice. So I have OCD. It's undiagnosed, but I'm pretty fucking sure, because once I gave it its name, battling with it became much easier. And basically, I noticed a significant difference in how I feel once I started using virtual desktops, because now I can fully focus on whatever I'm doing, including focusing on rest. Instead of, oh, I'm watching something, damn, there's this terminal opened as a window, I need to go and change something about my shell. Now I don't really need to as much, because it's isolated. And I can still very easily see all the windows that I have open, if I do need to, and jump to them very easily. I would even argue easier. And what I think is the most important thing, I have guarantees at where is going to be what. What do I mean by that? I have a guarantee that I have the Firefox browser in the first desktop. Why? Because I made it so. I have a guarantee that if I open Steam, it is definitely going to be here. Same with OBS, because I made a window rule for it. I have a guarantee that Telegram will be on the 6th desktop. If I open just normal windows in a single desktop, I have no guarantee over their ordering. And then I might have to change it myself, like by moving it, which just kind of proves the non-guarantee of the order. And then, okay, sure, you have the order. It is then not that convenient to switch between them. While with desktops, you can specifically go to a certain desktop, and yeah, I do know that you can also jump to a specific window in terms of ordering, but with desktops, you have more of a guarantee, more of a way to make sure that a certain window only appears on a certain desktop. While with Windows, you kinda don't. They can appear in any order, and then you might have to change it manually to make sure it aligns with what you expected. Make sense? Yeah. So aside from being able to go to a specific desktop, you can also oh, actually no, you can technically do that with Windows, but not usually. Basically, you can also go to the desktop above, down, left, and right. You can set hotkeys to do that. So you can still have clean and nice navigation, and I would even argue that it's cleaner and nicer than just navigating Windows. And then if you use automatic tiling, you got the whole bag, because you can then open something like Dolphin and it automatically tiles here with the only window that you want to be your main window, and then any extra stuff appear alongside and don't bother you with all the limitless floating that you have to now deal with. But tiling is not necessary really. Some people don't like it, but I found myself really liking it. Right, so and desktops, moving windows to different desktops, moving to different desktops yourself. There are hotkeys to set for all of these, so look through the shortcuts of Kwin. Chat broke again. So let's look through some of them. First of all, I don't need this. Alright, so we have this directional switching desktops that I just showed off. You can jump around desktops. And then, as you kind of visualize where your things are, you have a better way to navigate between them. And then you can also set hotkeys to go to a specific desktop, up to 20, by the way. I use 16. I could use 20, honestly, but I haven't needed that many yet. 16 seems like the best thing, because maybe I have this work timer here and I started to wash some clothes, another timer that I would want to be here, and then start a timer for cooking, and then maybe I open another project and maybe I'm doing something for the job and I still have one extra. And that's like a very extreme example, but it's possible. Where 20 I haven't really needed yet, you know? Right, where were we? Yeah, so for example, when I open system settings, I know for sure that they're going to appear on the 7th desktop. So whenever I open it, or want to open it, I have a certain guarantee. So desktops are about guarantees as well, at least for me. You have quite a few different things here for you to be able to switch between windows. For example, you can still have access to this view where you can type in the name of the window to switch to it. However, now that you look at all the windows that I have open, you realize how fucking incredibly annoying it would be to navigate between them if they were all on a single desktop. But separated, they're much much more fine. I used to have a hotkey to show only the windows on the current desktop, but now it's pretty useless, so I don't have it, but you can set it if you decide to either tile a lot or maybe have a few windows, like 2 or 3 on the same desktop. We have meta. I guess no, I guess I still do. And nice, like if I had multiple windows here, I would be able to choose between them either with arrow keys or by typing in the name. No, I obviously don't want the thumbnail. Let me show that off. Oh, I guess I disabled it, but basically what this does, it puts a thumbnail of the current window here. Why? I'm not sure. I haven't found this helpful whatsoever. Even though I'm skipping through a lot of hotkeys, keep in mind, most of them are incredibly useful. Just maybe not anymore for how I operate, but you should definitely read through them and try them out. Then you can have hotkeys to move the current activated window to a directional desktop, just like you move to different desktops. You can move windows to them, and then you can move a window to a specific desktop in a similar way. And yeah, that's about it, but there are more. For example, you can switch to the next desktop, to the previous one, and also move the window to next and previous desktop. Basically, there are a lot of different hotkeys that you can use to navigate virtual desktops, and they are incredible. They're so helpful. And by the way, the thing that I've been pressing like a billion times to show off the desktops that I'm using, to visualize them, I guess, is show desktop grid. So I have that on Meta U and on the mouse, making it very reasonable to switch to different desktops with the mouse if I do want to. And actually in this window you can press a number to go to that numbered desktop, which is very convenient. Yeah. And then something I showed in a previous stream, you can use your mouse to grab the edges and move to that directional desktop, which I also found quite helpful. So basically you're given a lot of different tools to work with virtual desktops. It's not like on Windows where the tools you're given are just kind of not worth using, almost. On Linux, you're actually given the tools and more. Yeah, like probably more than you need to an extent, which is a great thing. So it's a very great feature. I fucking talked a lot. I'm strange, like I stream the same way that I record videos. I just sit down and fucking go. Oh, you can zoom in and zoom out. I also showed that off in the previous stream. Yeah. What is invert effect? I don't think I need that. Some hotkeys just reappeared even though I disabled them. I uninstalled that script a long time ago. Alright, but let me show off the tiler that I use. First of all, we go to Window Management, kwin scripts, we get new scripts called Cronkite. You install it, then go to the GitHub page, check out their installation to enable this menu, and you choose the layouts that you want. I only want these two. And I also removed gaps. Boom, perfect, great. Let's look at the hotkeys. They're also in KWin, as you might have noticed at the top. Basically, now anytime I open a new window, it will tile. And then I can set hotkeys to switch between windows within a single desktop. You can move windows as well and resize them. The reason why this matters is the 10th desktop. Here I have two windows. They are fully full screen. However, I can still use Cronkite to switch between those windows. I'm currently pressing the hotkey to switch to the window on the left. Neither of these are left or right, but they're both here, and you can use the hotkey to switch between them, which makes this so convenient. Pone died. Pone? Who is Pone? Yeah. YouTube is fucked. Streams just die all the time. It's crazy. Alright, so with Cronkite, even though it's kind of like made to tile windows, you can still use it with full screen windows. What you would do without it is probably use Alt-Tab to switch between. But the negative of Alt-Tab, which I can't show you right now because I don't have the Alt-Tab mapping, I removed it, I don't need it, is that the other window only gets activated once you release Alt. When with these hotkeys, the action is done immediately. I press the hotkey and now I activated a different window. It's done immediately as soon as I press the hotkey, which is great. Sometimes I go back and forth between two windows because my brain can't focus. Well, now I can actually do this with ease and not necessarily put these two windows on different desktops, because these two windows are actually connected. This is the project that I'm working on in C#, by the way, and this is the terminal that I use specifically for this project. So it makes sense to actually have these two windows here. And then there are situations where you would want to have multiple windows displayed all at once, like Dolphin, and I think I showed that off already. And I can use the hotkey to resize this window, and Discord is being automatically resized along with it. Yeah, because here I would want to open Dolphin on the side so I can, I don't know, take some meme. Where is it? Hold out. You can take some you can take some meme and put it in your DMs. Then you close the window, boop, and Discord automatically resizes, because I'm using a different layout here than I was here. Here I'm using the monocle layout, and on the Discord workspace I use the tile layout, and there are quite a few, but I only found those two useful. Right. So basically with Cronkite you get the final period in the sentence of window manipulation, because it gets much easier and nicer. Yeah, let's come back to this example. Open Dolphin again. It remembers the position, by the way, which is amazing. Now I want to open a terminal for whatever reason. And the cool thing about it is that I can make this terminal window a master window using meta enter, and then increase the amount of master windows, and then move it down, and then resize it. A lot of actions, but you get used to it, and it's very convenient. So now I have Discord here, like in the middle, I guess. Then a terminal that I can switch to using a hotkey to go to the window that is down. Then I can go right to the dolphin, yeah, and go back to Discord. And once again, this is amazing, incredible, and great, because I can then close this window. This automatically becomes a master window, but maybe I don't want it, or I want it to not be a master window, so I press the hotkey to decrease master windows. Boom, it's back there. And I close the window, boom. And let me show it off. The mapping I'm talking about is increase and decrease, which are fucking ununderstandable at first. Like, what do you mean? Increase what? What do you increase? They increase the amount of master windows. A master window is a window that will be displayed like bigger than the others, and you use set master to make the current window a master window. If it is already a master window, when you press this hotkey, it becomes no longer a master window. You know what I'm annoyed by? I made this mapping to go to the next layout, and it still shows a layout that I disabled. So let's make sure I actually, yeah, I fucking disable it. And now when I use this hotkey, why do you show quarter? I have to reboot Linux more often than I would hope I would. Now, true, I don't have to. There's probably some magic way to reboot KDE or something like that, but I don't know what it is, you know? So, yeah, I'll have to reboot to make that change. Also, sometimes when you change your shortcuts, they don't actually apply, so you have to close the system settings window and then come back and change that hotkey again. That sometimes happens, so keep that in mind. It happened on Debian for me way more than it does on EndeavourOS, but it still happens. Yeah, that's most of what I wanted to talk about today. Any questions? You can create hotkeys for literal shell commands. So if I press meta, or the Windows key, plus F5, I get 3 random words in my clipboard, which I can then paste. Boom. Does Control U work here? I wouldn't imagine. Right, about Control U. Control U works in most KDE windows. So say you type something in here, in a terminal, you would expect to press Control U to delete all of it. Well, that's the same thing for KRunner, and that's the same thing for the settings. If you type anything in, you can press Control U to delete to the start, which is amazing and incredible. It's very, very helpful. Yeah, I'm done for today. I hope this was helpful in understanding more like features that you can use from KDE to improve your experience overall. The toolbar that you can configure to be pretty much whatever you want, which is great. And the virtual desktops that you can use to make it easier to focus and make it easier to tile windows and set them up in very specific formations, rather than having to work through hell to activate a billion windows and then closing and opening them a billion times because it's too annoying to see them. Now you don't have to, because you can use virtual desktops. And then if you figure out how activities may help you, you'll probably